God's original plan for mankind was to become mature, loving people, form strong families, and bring about a world of peace and endowment. Simply put, it is the purpose of our life, or the three blessings given by God to his children starting from Adam and Eve, Genesis 1:28, and realizing them as part of our responsibility. As for the afterlife, as a young person there is the challenge of overcoming your fears by watching horror films. When there is Halloween, we joke a lot about this topic. As kids we joke a lot about ghosts, presences, etc. But then when we grow up we begin to think a little more seriously about what the other dimension is, perhaps precisely because we are approaching what could be the moment to enter this dimension, or even earlier because perhaps some of our loved ones have already left us and are therefore no longer here with us. So it is a topic that we find ourselves facing more or less at various moments in our lives. The spiritual dimension of life is of fundamental importance because the entire universe is the expression of two dimensions, not only in a three-dimensional one, but there is also a fourth dimension which is invisible, but which exists and interacts in people's lives. We know the physical dimension, that of the earth. We experience the material world that surrounds us. We ourselves have a body and therefore we see that everything that surrounds us has an external form that we can touch, perceive, see. Our physical senses are fully functional. Feelings, emotions, sixth sense, intuitions, prophetic dreams, are not only part of our brain which is in the skull, it concerns a part of ourselves that we cannot touch. It is not tangible, but it is an important part that defines our character, our personality, and we call this a mind which has spiritual characteristics and which therefore belongs to a spiritual dimension which is not tangible but which is equally important. We also possess a spiritual body, which is why we almost essentially perceive in us emotions of both joy and fear which make us experience sensations and states of mind that go beyond our physical body or physical sensations. In essence, therefore, there is a physical world that we see and touch, but there is also a reality, another spiritual, transcendental dimension that has similar characteristics but others that are quite different. Many religious books talk about this reality. Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita tells us to know that what is needed of the body cannot be destroyed. Nothing can destroy the eternal soul. The soul is indestructible, eternal and dimensionless. It does not die when the body dies. In Christianity, in Ecclesiastics, we see your body will return to the dust of the earth from which it was taken. Your vital spirit will return to God who gave it to you. On the Mount of Transfiguration, Jesus met Moses and Elijah who had died hundreds of years before. So all the texts give us indications of a spiritual dimension. We have a physical mind and a physical body, and no one can deny this, but together we have a composite of another energy, spiritual, which makes us have a spiritual body and a spiritual mind. During our existence here on earth, these two bodies are practically united. They are part of ourselves. We are made up this way. The physical body lives in the 3 dimensions of space, that is, the vertical, horizontal and depth dimensions. Therefore it is also a dimension of time. It is circumscribed, although the world is very large, but within these dimensions, and we relate through 5 senses, and we add 5 physical senses, which we know as hearing, sight, smell and touch. These allow us to appreciate, rejoice, communicate, express ourselves, relate and come into contact with the physical, earthly world. Equally similar are the qualities of the spiritual body. The spiritual body also has these characteristics: sight, hearing, touch, taste, because this allows us to continue our existence in another dimension. In the other dimension, however, we are no longer tied to 3 dimensions or even by time. Time and space do not exist. Perhaps to help us understand this, we can imagine some science fiction films, where we go beyond the patterns we are used to thinking about. But already if we leave our solar system, time is no longer considered or measured as we measure it here on Earth. So we are very tied and limited to the environment in which we live. Therefore, in us there is no physical body, but also a spiritual body which is composed of energy, an incredible capacity and has no limits. This is why in Genesis it is written that God breathed the breath of life into man's nostrils and he became a living being. It refers to the fact that God created us as spiritual beings too. However, in order to fully use and move freely in this spiritual dimension, it is necessary to achieve spiritual growth and spiritual maturity while we are here on earth.